I need to explain something to everyone here. This supposedly is the chart. Sorry, I don't know what's going on. My voice is going. I don't know if I'm catching it. Certainly can't be the flu, because we don't have the flu anymore. But anyway, I'll try to do my best. These are the bullshit cases starting from 8th of March, when all this shit supposedly started all around the world. Funny that it all started at the same time. We had this first wave, then we had this lull here where everyone was getting tested, but, no cases. And in this period, they weren't testing in old age care nursing homes. And as I've explained yesterday, second wave, they've been telling everyone is coming because they know, because it's in the script. Let's start testing the aged care, because we know every single person has coronavirus, especially if you're old and frail and suffering from whatever health condition. So we start testing here, and beautifully it goes up. Yeah, they have a few drop-downs to make it, not too obvious that they're faking the data here. Like I said, if you test 20,000 people a day, all 20,000 would test positive in some way with coronavirus, because we all have it. But the testing is a heap of garbage. They just make out that they're using those tests, but they know full well they don't even go to pathology. There's no need to test, because we know they're all going to be positive. We'll just fudge the data. We have a spike, then down, then up and down a little bit, up and down a little bit, then up and down a little bit. But it all perfectly goes up here. We have these three big ones here for certain reasons, because here, the day after they closed the businesses, whatever, and this, they had to make it the big deal to justify them closing the businesses. But what I'm going to point out here, when I'll make an example here, let's just say, wherever here, just pick out a point here, 238 cases, new cases. Let's just imagine 100 of them were nurses, just for sake. All right, they go into quarantine for 14 days, and supposedly that's supposed to clear them up. 99.7% people will just, have a bit of a cough, bit of a, bit of a headache maybe, and that's it. 14 days later, it disappears magically. So what happens 14 days later, for them to go back to work, for them to get out of isolation, whatever, they have to be tested again. And as I keep saying, if you get tested again, you're guaranteed to have coronavirus anyway. So what they do, more often than not, they test positive. So the 100 people that tested positive here and cases, 14 days later test positive again. So the 403 cases here, 100 of them, well, virtually all 216 to be honest, whatever it was, they're all virtually testing positive again. Then the next day they will be tested again, and they're still positive. It's going to be up and down, but they just fudge the figures out. I like it. But so when they say, up here, 725 new cases, all of Melbourne panics. Oh my God! What they're thinking is 725 on top of the 429, on top of the 671, on top of the 723 here. Like, every day they're all new cases, but they're not. They are repeating people that have been tested prior. You understand? So in fact, the 725 here, you can guarantee virtually all of it, most of it, or whatever, have been tested previously and gone into quarantine and are still testing positive. But it's all about the numbers and fear, fear, fear. People are going to say, oh, well, if you think they all test positive, why don't they just pump up the cases 10,000, 20,000, really scared that, the living bejesus out of us. But no, they can't do that. They have to be careful how they fudge all this, because if you've got too many cases, and not enough deaths, it just drops down the death rate to 0.000 whatever. People are going to say, oh, fucking, who cares about these cases? No one's dying. As we say, many are the cases, but none are the caskets. So, but then you can say, well, why don't they just fake more deaths? Yeah, it's quite easy. Well, it's not so easy. They've been caught out using, as we know, people died from, car accidents, and they were tested positive 2 months prior. So anyone that tests positive and dies now will be a case. That's what happens. But yeah, they use the people that die in old age homes and that, but and they bribe some of the families to pay for the funerals. But as we know, they don't use names for these people that die because, family members would say, well, come on, fuck, the genuine ones would say, no, Granddad didn't die from COVID-19. Sorry. He was very frail and he had a few heart attacks, and that's why he died. So many deaths they can make up, which they're doing now, 10, 12, 13 deaths in line with the increase, because they have to have virtually the same percentage all the way along. You'll notice that when it comes down, the cases will come down and the deaths will come down. There won't be like, 627 cases and all of a sudden 100 deaths. They can't do that. They're just going to be consistent with a consistent percentage. So there it is. So don't panic with these bullshit case numbers. It's just to scare everyone. Means nothing. The only numbers that mean anything are the deaths, and I'm talking about deaths. Not in nursing homes, not from 80, 90-year-olds, 100-year-olds. They don't count. I'm talking about anyone 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 that actually dies from a virus. But it doesn't happen because the virus doesn't exist. You get it through your heads, folks. COVID-19 doesn't exist because it's never been isolated and purified. And you cannot test for something that doesn't exist. All this shit here is fudged figures by these criminals who are doing this to us. And the sooner we wake up, the sooner we will go back to normality.